तो 12वें अध्याय की हमने शुरुआत की थी। 12वें अध्याय की शुरुआत होती है, ये 11वें अध्याय में भगवान ने अंतिम श्लोक में बताया था कि भगवान का पर्सनल रूप में पूजा करनी चाहिए। ठीक है, हमें सेवा करनी चाहिए उनकी। उस प्रकार से हमने शुरू किया था। So attachment to Krishna's personal form is the highest spiritual realization. So that is almost concluded in most of the chapter, the devotional service 7, 8, 9, 10, even end of the 6.47, 10th, 11th, everywhere we saw emphasize, it is emphasized on performing devotional service. So, and Arjuna personally experienced this in the previous chapter. Nevertheless, there are people who prefer to meditate on impersonal Brahman. So Krishna has spoken about impersonal in 7th chapter. भगवान कृष्ण बताए थे जो बुद्धिमान होते हैं भगवान की पूजा करते हैं, जो अल्प बुद्धि होते हैं देवों की पूजा करते हैं, और जो अबुद्धया होते हैं वो इम्पर्सनल एस्पेक्ट भगवान का निराकार रूप की पूजा करते हैं, अबुद्धया अनइंटेलिजेंट पीपल। और उसी प्रकार भगवान डेमिगॉड वर्शिप के बारे में भी 3 अलग अलग फेज में बताते हैं। तीसरे अध्याय के 10वें श्लोक में बताते हैं वी शुड मनुष्य और देवों को साथ साथ में परस्पर मिलके अपना विकास करना चाहिए अध्यात्म की ओर, और अतीन्द्रिय तृप्तियों में भी। फिर 7वें अध्याय में बता रहे हैं जो देवों की पूजा करते हैं वो लेस इंटेलिजेंट है, कम बुद्धि वाले हैं। और 9वें अध्याय में भगवान बताते हैं कि देवों की पूजा इस अविधि पूर्वकम। तो एक ही गीता में डेमिगॉड के बारे में अलग अलग, बट वो अलग अलग लेवलों की में बताया गया है। तो इस तो इम्पर्सनल ब्राह्मण को देखकर अर्जुन ने प्रश्न पूछा कि कौन सी क्या उत्तम है आपकी श्याम, मतलब डायरेक्ट आपकी पूजा करना या इम्पर्सनल एस्पेक्ट की पूजा करना, भगवान के ऊपर ध्यान लगाना या कोई निराकार रूप पे ध्यान लगाना, क्या उत्तम है। तो हमने देखा बहुत सारे लोग, तो हमने देखा कि जो निराकार रूप में करते हैं उनको मेडिटेट करने के लिए बहुत सारी चीजें करनी पड़ती है, जैसे समोदम, समभाव विथ एनिमी एंड फ्रेंड्स, हीट एंड कोल्ड, honor dishonor, he has to be equal in such a situation, so that was mentioned। और फिर तो ये सब बहुत सारी तकलीफें उठाना पड़ती है, तो वही चीज हमने देखी थी कल कि those who fix their mind on the on my personal form and are always engaging worshipping me with a great transcendental faith are considered by me to be most perfect। सीधे सीधा जो भगवान के ऊपर दिव्य विश्वास रखकर भगवान की पूजा करते हैं बहुत ही उत्तम है वो लोग। लेकिन बोलते बट दोज हु वर्शिप द अनमैनिफेस्ट दैट व्हिच लाई बियॉन्ड द परसेप्शन ऑफ द सेंसेस, मतलब अभी तक उनको समझ में नहीं आया भगवान का रूप नाम लीला गुण कैसे है। तो वो क्या है? ऑल परवेडिंग, इनकंसीवेबल, अनचेंजिंग, फिक्स्ड, इमूवेबल, the impersonal conception of the absolute truth by controlling the various senses and being equally disposed to everyone. Such a person engaged in the welfare of all at last achieve me। तो ये भी भगवान को प्राप्त करेंगे अंततः, at last he said। What is the difference between second and third verse? Right? What is the difference? तो लेकिन यहाँ भगवान अपना कंक्लूजन दिखा रहे हैं। For those whose minds are attached to the unmanifested impersonal feature of the Supreme, advancement is very troublesome। मुझे बहुत डिफिकल्टी है। वो देखा हमने इतना आग लगा के इंद्रिय कंट्रोल करने की कोशिश कर रहे हैं। To make progress in the discipline is always difficult for those who are embodied। हमें बहुत तकलीफ होती है, लेकिन बता रहे बट those who worship me, जो लोग जो भगवान की पूजा करते हैं क्या करके? उनकी सारी क्रिया भगवान के लिए हो रही है और भगवान की और भक्त है उनका, अनन्य भक्त है वो लोग, विदाउट डेविएशन, मतलब अनन्य भक्त, अन सन्यास, अन, अन, अनन्येन एव, अन्येन एव, मतलब अन्येन एव मतलब यहाँ पे आप देख रहे हैं विदाउट डेविएशन, डिविजन, और विदाउट नो ओनली कृष्णा. So that is what is mentioned. So and always meditating upon Krishna, having fixed their mind upon Krishna, ocean of Prutha. For them I am the swift deliverer from the ocean of birth and death. That's what he told. Lord is the swift deliverer of devotee from the ocean of birth and death. So अर्जुन ने 2 प्रश्न पूछ लिए, वो हमने चर्चा कर ली. ट्रबलसम ऑप्शन दिए थे, उसके बाद हमने चर्चा की. अभी अलग अलग लेवल बता रहे हैं भक्ति के. तो यहाँ पे पहले तो भगवान ने बता दिया कौन बेहतर है, जो भगवान का साकार रूप की पूजा करते हैं वो, और निराकार रूप की. बोलते हैं निराकार करने वाले भी अंततः भगवान के पास आते हैं, लेकिन उनका रास्ता बहुत मुश्किल है, बहुत मुश्किल है उनके रास्ते. तो ये बताने के बाद
लग जाता है.
लेकिन यहाँ पर अभी जब उन्होंने बताया कि किस प्रकार से अलग अलग प्रकार से कैसे ग्रेजुअली आ सकते हैं, तो भगवान ने यहाँ पे अलग अलग लेवल की भक्ति बताई है. तो अलग अलग लेवल की भक्ति में ये आता है कि, तो पहले बोल रहे हैं यहाँ पर 8वें अध्याय में, ये हमने चर्चा की थी, मये मयेव मन आदस्त्व मयि बुद्धिं निवेशय निविशिष्यसि मयेव अतः ऊर्ध्वं न संशयः. Just fix your mind upon me, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and engage your intelligence in me. Thus you will live in me always without doubt. क्या बोल रहे हैं? हमेशा अपना मन भगवान, पूर्ण पुरुषोत्तम भगवान में लगाओ, अपना बुद्धि भी भगवान में लगाओ. दस क्या होगा? इस प्रकार से हम हमेशा भगवान के साथ रहेंगे, उसमें कोई संशय नहीं है. ठीक है. तो यहाँ पे बोल रहे हैं कि वन हु इज एंगेज इन लॉर्ड कृष्णा's डिवोशनल सर्विस lives in direct relationship with the Supreme Lord. So there is no doubt that his position is transcendental from the very beginning. A devotee does not live on the material plane, he lives in Krishna. The holy name of Lord and the Lord are non-different. Naam Chintamani Krishna, Sri Chaitanya Ras Vigraha, Punyasutta Nityamukta Abhinitva Nam Namin. Yesterday I said that. Therefore, when devotee chant Hare Krishna, Krishna and his internal potency are dancing on the tongue of devotee. When he offers Krishna food, Krishna directly accepts this eatable and devotee become Krishna by eating the remnants. One who does not engage in such a service cannot understand how this is so, although this process is recommended in Bhagavad Gita and Vedic literature. So basically he said, मन और अपना चित्त और मन, चित्त और बुद्धि भगवान में लगाओ. तो यही चीज हमने बार बार हमने 9वें अध्याय में भी देखा था, याद होगा आपको. 7वें अध्याय में भी देखा था, मया अर्पितम मनो बुद्धिर. 7वें अध्याय में बताया था, मया सक्त मन पार्थ योगम इंचन मदाश्रय असंशयम समग्र माम साज्ञाचरि तच्छृणु. The Supreme Person of God said, now here, O son of Prutha, how by practicing yoga in full consciousness of me, with mind attached to me, you can know me in full, free from doubt. वहां पे भगवान में मन लगाने की बात है. फिर आप देखेंगे 9वें अध्याय के अंत में भगवान बता रहे हैं, वापस क्या बता रहे हैं? मन्मनाम भव मद भक्तो मत्याजी माम नमस्करु मामे वेश्यसि युक्ते त्वम आत्मना मत परायण. बोलते हैं एंगेज योर माइंड ऑलवेज इन थिंकिंग ऑफ मी, मतलब भगवान के में अपना मन लगाओ, हमेशा भगवान के भक्त बनो, भगवान को प्रणाम करो और उनकी पूजा करो, और इस प्रकार से भगवान के एंड बीइंग कंप्लीटली अब्सॉर्ब्ड इन मी श्योरली विल कम टू मी, ये उन्होंने बताया। तो बोला गया है भगवत सारे वेदों का सार भगवत गीता है, ये ध्यान से सुनिएगा, सारे वेदों का सार भगवत गीता है। भगवत गीता में 18 अध्याय है, 1 से लेकर 18। तो 18 अध्याय में भगवत गीता का एसेंस जो आता है वो 7वें अध्याय से लेकर 12वें अध्याय में एसेंस है भगवान का, पूरी भगवत गीता का, ठीक है। लेकिन 7 से 12 अध्यायों का एसेंस जो आता है वो 9वें और 10वें अध्याय में आता है, ठीक है। 9वें और 10वें अध्याय का जो एसेंस है वो 34वें श्लोक में आता है, 9वें अध्याय का 34वें श्लोक, मन मना भवमत भक्तो मद्याजी माम नमस्कुरु माम वैसे ऐसे कुत्तेत्मा युक्ते युक्ते युक्तेवम आत्मना मत परायण, भगवान की पूजा करनी है। तो वही चीज यहाँ पे 12वें अध्याय के 8वें श्लोक में भी भगवान वही चीज बता रहे हैं यहाँ पर, ठीक है। फिर 11वें अध्याय में तो लास्ट में वही बोल दिया भगवान ने, उससे हमारा 12वां अध्याय भी शुरू हुआ था, ठीक है। माय डियर अर्जुना, you is engaged in my pure devotional service free from contamination of fruitive activity and mental speculation. He who works for me, who makes me the supreme goal of his life, and who is friendly to every living being, certainly comes to me. और वही उधर 7वें अध्याय में भी देखोगे तो भगवान लॉर्ड कृष्ण इज द सुप्रीम एंड हाईएस्ट गोल, आपको याद होगा कहीं तो लिखा है यहाँ पर, इज द सुप्रीम एंड हाईएस्ट गोल, somewhere it is written 17. He is sure to attain me, the highest and most perfect goal. कृष्ण को पाना ही, भगवान की सेवा ही हाईएस्ट, भगवान को पाना इज हाईएस्ट एंड सुप्रीम गोल. So that is what he has mentioned. Again, it says surrender. And even if you same verse of 9.32, Manmana Bhav Mad Bhakta Madhyaji Mam Namaskar, Krishna will repeat it in 18th chapter. That's why it is a conclusion. He repeat again. Manmana Bhav Mad Bhakta Madhyaji Mam Namaskar wala slok. Again he repeat. So second line will be changed. So here Krishna is telling us, यहाँ पे भगवान हमें बोल रहे हैं अपना मन और बुद्धि, मतलब सिर्फ हमारी, जैसे 3रे अध्याय के 5वें श्लोक में 6ठे श्लोक में बोला गया था, क्या बोला गया था, अभी आपको ना ये वर्स को रिलेट करना आना चाहिए सारा चीजें, कि no one can remain without any activity, not for everyone is forced to act helplessly. नहीं कश्चित् क्षणमपि जातु तिष्ठति कर्मकृत कार्यते अवसकर्म सर्वे प्रकृतिर्ज्योतिर्मयः. Everyone is forced to act helplessly according to the qualities he has acquired from the mode of material nature. Therefore, no one can refrain from doing something, not even for a moment. One who restrains the senses of action but whose mind dwells on the sense object certainly delude himself and is called pretender. मिथ्याचारश्चुच्यते. तो ठीक है, हमें तो क्या करते हैं, बाह्य रूप से हम इंद्रियों को तो काबू कर लेते हैं, उसको हम भगवान की सेवा में भी लगा देते हैं, लेकिन हमारे मन और बुद्धि इंद्रिय विषयों का बार बार चिंतन करते रहते हैं, इंद्रिय विषयों के बारे में, इंद्रिय भोग करने की, इंद्रिय विषयों के बारे में इंद्रिय भोग करने के लिए बार बार सोचते रहते हैं. इसलिए भगवान ने बोला है यहाँ पर कि अपने चित्त और बुद्धि, मन और बुद्धि भगवान में लगाओ, दैट इज हाईएस्ट. It's like a nut in the coconut, not shell. पूरा अंदर से कवर रहते हैं, but that is different पूरा. So if you can't do this thing, if you are not able to fix your mind and intelligence upon Krishna, then he says here that so 8 and 9 is bhakti with internal senses. Mind is known as 6th sense, and he says in the 10th verse that bhakti with external senses. So we saw 12.8. This says in 12.9, atha chittam samadhatum न शक्नोषि मयि स्थिरम अभ्यास योगेन ततो माम इच्छा तुम धनंजय। तो बोल रहे हैं, ओ माय डियर अर्जुना, winner of the wealth, if you cannot fix your mind upon me without deviation, then follow the regulative principle of Bhakti Yoga. In this way, develop a desire to attain me. So, if you are not able to fix your mind upon me, then you have to follow regulative principle of do's and don'ts. So, we have discussed many times about do's and don'ts, vidhi and nised. So, basically, in this word, two different processes of Bhakti Yoga are indicated. First applies to one who has actually developed an attachment for Krishna, Supreme Person of Godhead, by transcendental love. And the other is for one who has not developed an attachment for the Supreme Person by transcendental love. So in the earlier, it is about you have love. Love means, yesterday I mentioned, if you hear K, so you cannot say K for kite, you say K for Krishna. When you hear A, you don't say that A for apple, but you say A for Anirudh. When you hear B, you don't say B for ball, but you say B for Balram. When you hear C, you don't say C for cat, but you say C for Chaitanya. When you hear D, you don't say D for dog, but you say D for Damodar. तो बना लेना पूरा E, F, G, H जो भी है. But the point here is that even if you see little bit, so today, we are doing we had some class, Bhakti Sastri class. So in that, so they were discussing about 10th chapter, the opulence of Krishna. So in that 10th chapter, Krishna speaks about Vibhuti yoga. Vibhuti means whatever great thing you are seeing, materially great thing, Vibhuti. So that is Krishna. So the one Prabhuji gave a nice interactive thing that he he made up some word in the cheat. Let's say bottle, then curtain, then well, then coin. So everyone has to pick up the word, one particular cheat, and they have to read the word and they have to make the sentence immediately, glorifying Krishna. Someone received bottle. So someone quoted from Srila Prabhupada that Prabhupada says that impersonalists are like licking the bottle of honeybee from outside without opening the lid of the bottle. Someone got wealth. So then he says Krishna is all wealthy. That is one of the opulence. Curtain. Someone said, we close the curtain when we offer the food to Krishna. So that way we have to make. So basically we have to Krishnaize. Instantly, I remember when you go for interview of Indian Army, I had been there. So they take your psychological test. So what's your psychology? So in the psychological test, they will give you some word. You have to form the sentence within 10 to 20 seconds. Means if you have to, suppose I give a word beautiful. So as soon as if you are Krishnaize, then you will immediately say Krishna is so beautiful. Suppose you are so fond of movie, then you say Aishwarya Rai is so beautiful. That's a difference. That's a difference in consciousness. So love and affection means where you are attached, how strongly you are attached. So as soon as you see something, you think about Krishna. Okay. So hope this is clear to everyone. So the previous verse was to keep that mind and intelligence in such a way that that should be love. So when there are two premies, boys and girl, they always keep thinking about each other. Vipralamba bhav. They are not staying together, but they staying together they are not yet married and they are not staying together. So always think of each other. मैं उसको कैसे ये दूंगा whatever XYZ. But if it is not such a scenario, then it says, suppose someone met accident, उनका पैर टूट गया, तो उसको चल या कुछ उनको मोच आ गए या तो कुछ हो गया, उनको एक्सरसाइज दिया जाता है 1 2 1 something whatever. So then what happened that they have been told to practice it. Okay, you have not developed the love, then practice. Yesterday I gave example, right, of that, if teaching the boys how to write alphabets and all, and I wanted to give this example from Nectar of Instruction. Tatanam Roop Charikali Sukirtanano Smrutyor Kramena Manasa Pinyocha. किंतु आदरा अनुलम न खलु सेव ज्येष्ठा साध्वी क्रमाद भवति तद्गता मूलहन्ति. बोलते the holy name and character, pastime and activities of Krishna are all transcendental, sweet like sugar candy. Although the tongue of one afflicted by the jaundice of avidya, so one who's suffering is with jaundice, so one is in ignorance is compared to the person who is suffering by jaundice. So cannot taste anything sweet. It is wonderful that simply by carefully chanting these sweet names every day, a natural release awaken within his tongue and his disease is gradually destroyed at the root. So it's very nicely explained here that holy name of the Lord in this quality, so forth, are all natural, nature of absolute truth, beauty and bliss. Naturally, they are very sweet like a sugar candy, which appeals to everyone. In essence, however, is compared to the disease of called jaundice, which is caused by bilious secretion. Attacked by jaundice, the tongue of the diseased person cannot palatably release the sugar candy. Rather, a person with jaundice considers something sweet to taste very bitter. Sometimes you might have undergone viral fever. You don't feel to eat anything. You feel bitter and all those things. Avidya, ignorance, similarly perverts the ability to release the transcendentally palatable name quality, form and pastime of the Krishna. Despite this disease, if one with a great care and attention takes to Krishna consciousness, chanting the holy name and hearing Krishna's transcendental pastime, his ignorance will be destroyed and his tongue enabled to taste the sweetness of transcendental nature of Krishna and his paraphernalia. Such a recovery of spiritual health is possible only by the regular cultivation of Krishna consciousness. So basically, even if you don't feel, if you train, just like when you are going to army, your body is not, if you are going through NDA, CDS, Combined Defense Service or NDA, whatever. So in the beginning, your body is not trained as per the requirement of army officer. They give you training. So every day they will tell you, go and run for 1 mile. And gradually they increase to 5 kilometers. Then various rigorous training and your body will be habituated. Like a training. So what happened that? So that's why rules and regulation are given for Bhakti Yoga. So in this way, what happened? Develop a desire to attain me. So slowly when you are repeatedly hearing about Krishna and all, so you will be purified. So that is performing the Bhakti under the rules and regulation. If you are not able to perform the Bhakti spontaneous out of love, then this is the another level. This is called second level. In third level, he says, okay, if you are not able to do this internal way, then external senses, You act in the activity of Krishna. Abhyase api asamartho asi mat karma paramo bhava mad artham api karmani durvan siddhim avapyasi. To बोल रहे, if you cannot practice the regulation of bhakti yoga, means first that 8 and 9 verse as mentioned in 8 and 9th verse, then I say just try to work for me, because by working for me you'll come to the perfect state. So let's say someone is not able to chant, not able to hear and all, whatever, then they should engage, someone like construction, so they can engage in constructing the temple, putting a brick and whatever, anyway, decorating the temple with the like. So there, someone is interior designer, they can decorate the temple of Krishna even if they don't want to chant. So like that, so many things we can do. Okay. So, but in the gradually they will come to that level when they do this way. So yesterday we already discussed about that in detail. That Prabhupada says that one should be sympathetic to the propagation of Krishna consciousness. There are many devotees who engage in the propagation of Krishna consciousness and they require help. So even if one cannot directly practice the regulative principle of bhakti, he can try to help such a work. Every endeavor requires land, capital, organization, labor. Just as in business, one required a place to stay, some capital to use, some labor, and some organization to expand. So the same is required in service of Krishna. The only difference is that in materialism, one works for sense gratification. Same work, however, can be performed for the satisfaction of Krishna, and that is spiritual activity. If one has sufficient money, he can help in building an office or temple for propagating Krishna consciousness, or he can help with publication. There are various fields of activity. If someone is influential people, so when you want to spread the Krishna consciousness movement, many people don't allow to do that. So if you are influential, you should help them. They should help devotees to get the permission and all. It's very difficult nowadays. Recently I went to Gujarat and I came to know that in Gujarat in school, they have made Bhagavad Gita compulsory. I think this year onwards, Bhagavad Gita is compulsory. Bhagavad Gita must be taught. So if we do this way, if you are influential to the government official, education ministry and all, okay, we are not chanting, but if we do, so many people will be benefited. So we can engage our skill in the service of Krishna. So here there are two categories: those who are directly working for Krishna, constructing the temple and all. The second, you can take it as they're working outside and they directly, they are not engaged in the service of Krishna directly, but they are whatever the result of the activity they are giving to Krishna. So that is mentioned here. So work for Krishna basically. So sorry, just to give more clarity here. So when you are working here, your mind might not be talking Krishna and all. Suppose someone is good programmer, good developer of the website, or you can say app or like that. So they will not be able to speak Krishna everywhere. But they develop the apps in such a way that someone associate with Krishna through that. So they might be dealing with various variables, code, conditional statements, loops, and whatever. So that is seems non-Krishna-ish, but that is being used in the service of Krishna. So their mind is not directly talking, intelligence is not talking about Krishna, but physically they are doing for Krishna. Okay, so mentally and with intelligence they are thinking something else. but the body, whatever activity is carried out by the body, is related to Krishna. That way they are Krishnaized. So let's move ahead. So in the next verse, he says that if you can't do that, this is fourth level. So he says, अथेतत अपि असक्तो असि, अगर आप वो नहीं कर सकते हैं, then what is कर्तुम मत योगम आश्रिता सर्वकर्म फलम त्यागम ततः कुरु यतात्मवान. तो बोल रहे, if however you are unable to work in the consciousness of me and try to act giving up the result for your work and try to be self-situated. So what does it mean? If you are not able to give the result for Krishna conscious activity for Krishna, then whatever result you get, you don't enjoy but give it to others. Karma phala, swakarma phala tyaga. Use it for someone else's benefit. So here it is said, it may be that one is unable even to sympathize the activities of Krishna consciousness because of social, familial, religious concentration, or because of some other impediments. If one attaches himself directly to the activities of Krishna consciousness, there may be objection from the family member or so many other difficulties. For one who has such a problem, it is advised that he sacrifice the accumulated result of his activity to some good cause. Such a procedure are described in the Vedic rules. There are many descriptions when you go to 7th chapter and all. Yagya, Dan, Tapa, everything will come. Charity in the mode of goodness, charity in the mode of patience, charity in the mode of ignorance. Many things will come. Such a procedure are described in the Vedic rules, and there are many descriptions of sacrifice and special function for the full moon day. There is a special work in which the result of one's previous action may be applied. So thus, one may be gradually become elevated to the state of knowledge. It's also found that when one who is not even interested in the activity of Krishna consciousness gives charity to some hospital or some other social institution, gives up the hard-earned result of his activity. Okay. And that is also recommended here because by the practice of giving up the fruits of one's activity, one is sure to purify the mind, his mind, and gradually purify his mind gradually, and in that purified stage of mind, one becomes able to understand Krishna consciousness. Of course, Krishna consciousness is not dependent on any other experience because Krishna consciousness itself can purify one's mind. But if there are impediments to accept Krishna consciousness, one may try to give up the result of his action. कहने का मतलब है आप मत भोगो. We don't have to become bhokta. This is to understand that we are not the bhakta, but Krishna is the bhokta. So in that respect, social service, community service, national service, sacrifice for one's country, etc., may be accepted so that someday one may come to the stage of pure devotional service to Supreme Lord. So in Bhagavad Gita 1846, we find it is stated, Yatha pravrittir bhutanam, if one decides to sacrifice for Supreme cause, even if he does not know that the Supreme cause is Krishna, you come gradually to understand that Krishna is the Supreme cause by the sacrificial method. So Gajendra, when he was troubled, when he was caught by the crocodile, so he was not on the level, he was not aware who is the Supreme Lord. But what he did, he picked up the lotus flower through his trunk and he offered, saying that I offered this lotus flower to whoever is the Supreme Lord. So he was not aware, he didn't have the clear conception about who is the Lord. But whoever is the Supreme Lord, I am offering this lotus flower. To him, I am offering this Supreme lotus flower. With that, when he did that, immediately Lord Vishnu came on the Garuda and released the Sudarshan Chakra, killed the crocodile, and he released the element from greatest danger. So we'll come to that level. So this is a gradual process. And what Krishna says in the 4.10, if you remember, Vitaraga bhai krodha, manmaya mam upasrita baho jnana tapsa puttamadbhavam agatha. Being free from the attachment, fear and anger, being fully absorbed in me and taking refuge in me. Basically, when you start developing detachment, you will be free from the fear and anger. Cause of fear and anger is material attachment. That itself is mentioned in Bhagavad Gita. Again, also, if you could remember, I think 30th or 29th verse, here it is mentioned that So this is evident from the other symptoms also. He becomes so impatient that his famous foe Gandhiva was slipping from his hand, and because his heart was burning within him, he was feeling a burning sensation of skin. And all these are due to material conception of life. So fear and anger come because of material conception of life. Fear and anger come because of material conception of life, right? Why? Because why you are fear? That you are fear of that, okay, you will lose your identity. What will happen to your existence? What is my future? Fear. Anger comes, you want to enjoy the sense gratification, but you could not. That's why anger comes. But why you are trying to enjoy the sense gratification? Because we consider ourselves as a bhakta, not Krishna. Okay, why we are fearful? Because we think that no, I am this body, or I am belong to this country, I am belong to such so-called such faith or whatever, and we have fear of losing that. So why? Because still we are on the material conception level. We have not developed that vision that we are Brahma Bhuta vision. We have not yet developed. Brahma Bhuta Prasanna Atmano Sushti no Kakshati Sama Sarvesu Bhutesu Mad Bhakti Labte Paraham. Means he sees everyone with equal vision. Maybe dog, devotee, dog eaters, elephant and cow. He sees the spiritual within them. He doesn't look external body. He sees them with common vision of being a spirit soul. So when we come to that level, what Krishna says in the 4th chapter, 10th verse, that being free from the attachment, fear and anger, being fully absorbed in me. Basically, so when you start when you develop detachment, means when you develop that tyaga, karma phala tyaga, swakarma phala tyaga. So when you develop that detachment, means not service attitude. Detachment means you are serving others. Means you are not a bhokta, but you are serving others, offering that result to someone else. So you have that, you are developing that detachment. So when you develop that detachment, what will happen? We have that anger and fear because of attachment. But when you develop that detachment, when you have that seva bhav for others, you will be free from fear and anger. You'll be free from fear and anger. Okay. So when we are free from that fear and anger, we can see things in perception, proper clear perception gradually. This is also gradual process. Anyway, so this is 4th level. Giving up the result of work. Then in the other next verse, he says, if you can't do that, Then it says Shreyo hi jnanam abhyasaj jnana dhyana vishishyate dhyana karma phala tyagas tyagaj santi antaram बोल रहे हैं. So in the previous verse what I said, we have to develop the, we have to sarva karma phala tyag. Okay, so when we do the develop that detachment, so that detachment will help us to develop dhyana actually. So that is what is mentioned here. So if you cannot take to this practice, then engage yourself in the cultivation of knowledge. So if you cannot do directly, you cannot come to that level of sarva karma phala tyag, then you try analyzing what is the purpose of this material world. Who am I? What is my purpose? What is the purpose of my existence? Why am I suffering? That can be answered by knowing MSC, matter, spirit, and controller of both, right? So we have to develop from the basic cause, basic analyzing the material world. We are seeing that's the story of Buddha, right? So his father thought that, when Buddha was born, Lord Buddha was born, so astrologer predicted that either he'll become great saint, वो बहुत ही महान संत बनेंगे या तो बहुत ही महान राजा बनेंगे. उनके पिताजी ने सोचा वो तो क्षत्रिय थे, उनने सोचा वो तो राजा ही बनना चाहिए, सन्यासी क्यों बने. तो उन्होंने घर में उनको इस प्रकार से रखा. कैसे रखा कि उनको कभी फील ही ना हो कि सफरिंग आए, जन्म मृत्यु जरा व्याधि के बारे में पता ही नहीं लगने दिया डायरेक्टली. एक दिन जब बुद्ध भगवान बाहर, शायद उनके पिताजी नहीं थे, पुरोहित नहीं थे, तो बाहर घूमने निकले थे, तब उन्होंने देखा व्यक्ति के साथ. तो एक व्यक्ति बहुत पीड़ित था, तो पूछा, अरे ये क्या हुआ? तो उसको पीड़ा हुई है, रोग हुआ है. तो सबको होगा या सिर्फ उनको ही होगा? तो बोला सबको होगा. फिर उन्होंने बुढ़ापा देखा, किसी का मृत्यु हुआ, सब में सफरिंग देखा. तो बुद्ध भगवान ने बोला तो फिर मैं ये क्या कर रहा हूँ राजा बन के. तो बेसिकली उन्होंने उस दिन से संन्यास ले लिया. So we have to develop that detachment about this material world. What is the purpose of this material world? Then when we do this thing, we are finding so many hospital, so many annadan thing. We are feeding so many poor, means there is a suffering. When we see the suffering, then we find out that why we are suffering. And why we are suffering, that can be answered by knowing who am I. So basically, we have to, if we can't come to the point of renunciation, direct karma, sarva karma phala tyag, then we have to cultivate the knowledge. He says, can you cultivate the knowledge? So better than knowledge is meditation. And better than meditation is renunciation of the fruit of action. In the last, he said that we have to develop the sarva karma phala tyag. We have to renunciate the result of our activities. So that renunciation of fruits of action is better than meditation. Meditation is better than knowledge. It's mere knowledge without practicing. When you apply the knowledge in life, you will come to the stage of renunciation and all those things. So, and force by such a renunciation, one can attain peace of mind. This is very, very important. In this verse, I said attachment. If we have attachment, then we will definitely have fear and anger. But when we develop a detachment, then we have no fear, no anger. Why? And if you are not free from fear and anger, asante se katha sukham, as Krishna says in second chapter of Bhagavad Gita, what he says, asante se katha sukham, verse number 266. Hmm. Yeah, without peace there is no happiness. So when will you be peaceful? When you don't have fear and anger. Very simple. So simultaneous. If you have no fear and anger, you're happy. You're happy means you don't have fear and anger. Fear of losing something, whatever. When you have that detachment, seva bhav, means I am not the enjoyer. Someone else is the enjoyer. Right now, there is no concept clear. Krishna is the ultimate enjoyer. You serve others. So basically, service attitude. If you say Desh Bhakti, Raj Bhakti, Pitru Bhakti, Matru Bhakti, what do you mean by Bhakti? Bhakti means seva, service with love. देशभक्ति में बोला मैं बहुत बड़ा देशभक्त हूँ, लेकिन जब देश की सेवा करने की बात है तो कुछ किया नहीं, कैसे देशभक्त बोल सकता है? इसी तरह कृष्ण भक्त मीन्स सर्विंग कृष्णा. So if we have that service attitude for the people in general, so rather than we enjoy, we consider more, we are more thoughtful how I can serve others. So I am enjoyer means I am exploitator. I am exploiting others to enjoy myself. Whereas service attitude means we serve others rather than considering my enjoyment without worrying about my enjoyment. So, okay, let's move ahead. So when we have such a renunciation, the sarva karma phala tyag, then we can attain the peace of mind. And by the peace of mind, we'll be happy. This is the peace formula. What is this peace formula? 5.29. Bhoktaram ekadapasam sarva loke maheswaram surudam sarva bhutanam jatvam santi uchyate. So here it is mentioned about other, but 5.29 mention about Krishna. Everything should be done for Krishna. Here he says, a person is in full consciousness of me, knowing me to be the ultimate beneficiary of all sacrifice and austere. So whatever activity we do, we are doing it for Krishna. He is a Maheswara, Iswara of all the planets and demigods. He is a benefactor and well-wisher of all living entities. Attain the peace from the pang of material misery. So this is like different level. Anyway, let's move ahead. We can speak a lot, but we already discussed this part. Bhakti with internal senses. Try to fix your mind on Krishna. Abhyas Rupa Bhakti by Abhyas. Okay, so then work for Krishna. Give up the result of work. Sarva Karma Pratyag. So this is the explanation by different Acharya, what they are saying. So you can read. I have already shared this document on that Google Drive link. You can download and see. Okay. So what is the meaning? Now, Krishna has already mentioned about your devotional service. Okay. Anyway, we can discuss more, but we have to move ahead right now. So now, what is the symptoms of those who are who is most dear to Krishna is mentioned here. The symptoms of the devotees of Krishna. He says, so if you are dear to Krishna, they will definitely have this kind of quality. It says, Adveshta sarva bhutanam metra karuna evacha nirmamo nirahankara samadukha sukham sami santushta satatam yogi yad atmadar nischaya maya arpitam mano buddhi madbhakta same priya. So madbhakta same priya. The one who is not envious but kind friend to all living entity. Envious means Vaishnavas are like paradukha dukhi, parasukha sukhi. Others are dukhi, then Vaishnava also feel unhappy. And if others are happy, then Vaishnavas are also happy. But for an envious person, it is reverse. Is paradukha sukhi, parasukha dukhi. Means he is unhappy when others are happy, and he is seeing the others' happiness. He is unhappy. Envious person is unhappy seeing the others' happiness, and is happy seeing the unhappiness of other people. We have to be non-envious. It is said, ऐसा बोला कि अगर सांप और ईर्ष्यालु व्यक्ति सामने आए, सबसे पहले ईर्ष्यालु व्यक्ति को मारो, बाद में सांप को मारो. कहावत है, मारिएगा मत, बट कहावत है. कहने का मतलब ये है. सो सांप भी हमें तभी डंसता है, सांप भी तभी हमें काटेगा जब हम उनको कुछ नुकसान करेंगे. लेकिन ईर्ष्यालु व्यक्ति ऐसे होते हैं, जब उसको नुकसान करो या ना करो, आपको नुकसान ही करेंगे, हमेशा परेशान करेंगे. We should not be envious. And who does not think himself a proprietor and is free from the false ego. Means there are two ego, true ego and false ego. False ego means I am the enjoyer, true ego means Krishna is the enjoyer, I am the servant of Krishna. That is the true ego. We cannot be egoless. Just we have to transform false ego to true. The nature of true ego. So is equal in both happiness and distress. Sama dukha sukham teram. Like यहाँ पे निर्ममो निरहंकारा sama dukha sukham kshami. And in distress, who is tolerant, always satisfied, self-controlled, engage in the devotional service with determination. Maya arpitam mano buddhir यो मद भक्त समय प्रिय यतात्मा दृढ़ निश्चय. यतात्मा दृढ़ निश्चय. So we have to engage in devotional service with determination. So many impediments will come in devotional service when we practice. Mostly first it begins with the family member or friends or whatever. Okay, so many opposing element will come, but we should be dृढ़ निश्चय. Whatever impediments will come, we'll do. Right. Maya arpitam mano buddhir. It's very simple to adveshta. Adveshta means non-envious. Sarva bhutanam is adveshta sarva bhutanam. Non-envious to all living entity. Maitri karuna evacha, who does not think does not think himself as a enemy and friends or something like that. Nirmamo nirahankara, he doesn't consider himself as a nirmamo means proprietor. Nirahankara is free from false ego. Sama dukha sukham dira. It's very easy to understand, right? Santushta satatam yogi is always satisfied, self-satisfied. Yatatma dhrad nishchaya is the endeavor with great determination. Maya arpitam mano buddhir. So his mind and intelligence fix on me. Yo mad bhakta samay priya. Yo me mad bhakta. So one yaha mad bhakta samay priya. This kind of my devotee is very dear to me. It's very dear to me. Such a devotee, mine is very, very dear. We have to develop this quality. We should always, if you see, that is already mentioned, manmana bhav mad bhakto madhyaji mam namaskaru. So whatever Krishna qualification, whatever Krishna has instructed us, so we have to develop those quality, and if we develop those quality, we can become dearer to Krishna. Okay, so let's move ahead. So he says in the next verse that Yasman na udvajit loko loka no udvajit yaha har samsa harsha marsha bhayodveg bhayudveger mukto yaha sahacha me priya. Yasmat means no dvijet are agitated. He by whom no one is put into difficulty. Yasmat no dvijet loka. So one is not put in the difficulty through which, so the one through whom no one is put in difficulty. Lokon dvijit chayah, and who is not disturbed by anyone. So others should not be disturbed by that but devotee, and devotee should not be disturbed by other. So we should not be disturbed by other doesn't mean that we don't have to, so we have to disturb other. It's both. We don't have to disturb other and we should not be disturbed by other. So that is the quality. And that is possible when we understand our real position, that we are the servant of God. Who is Harsam Harsha Udveger, who is equipoised in happiness and distress, fear and anxiety, is very dear to me. So many people will provoke and many things. I remember I was in the office and one of my director, he was first day when I went. So I told that I don't eat. I was very new at the time. I was not aware, but just within a 6 month, I joined the office and I was also in Krishna consciousness just 6 months. And unko bolte, I don't eat onion, garlic, and anything, whatever. I don't drink tea. And they were feeling is the old man out or what. So then they tried to provoke me so many things. So 6 months I was just feeling lonely. And I thought, they are trying to interconnect and question so much, put me down, but I should take the opportunity and preach them. Then we started in the office, almost out of 8 hours of office, 2 hours we were doing Krishna Katha during lunch time, tea time and all. So whenever they were calling me for tea time, I was going with them. They were drinking tea, but I was drinking hot water with sugar. And then they were putting me so many questions and we were answering. So at last, when I was resigning from that company, so manager told me 2 things. I made this guy, tried to provoke him, but he was not provoked. Then he said, he wanted me to see newspaper, so many things, other thing on television. But he says he ended up seeing Little Krishna. And he says he wanted me to read so many things, material literature, but he said he ended up reading Bhagavatam. And he said, he wanted me to change, but he got changed. So basically, we should be like that. So that was the statement of director. I didn't expect that he over glorified to me. I'm not on that level. But that's what the gift of Srila Prabhupada has given to us. So at least we should have determined. Many people will try to put obstacle and so many things, but we should be determined. Dhrada nishchaya, yatatma dhrada nishchaya. We should not be disturbed. Many people will try to taste us. He said that many people came earlier that saying that हम प्याज नहीं खाते, लहसुन नहीं खाते, ये नहीं खाते, वो नहीं खाते, but जब ऑफिस में पार्टी होती है सब कुछ खाते हैं. There was one person who said I don't eat that, and but he had some sweet made of egg or something like that. So बोला वो सब खा लेते हैं. So he was tasting and all. So we should say that sometimes people agitate, but they are testing our patience, that are we really genuine. So when we are put in difficulty, our genuineness will come out. So sometimes we find difficulty, but we should be grateful to Krishna that our genuineness will come out by that. So it is said, gold will glitter more. जितना उसको आग को तपाओगे इतना, sorry, सोने को तपाओगे इतना ज़्यादा चमकेगा. So how we behave, intention in tension reveals our true nature. Intention in tension means our intention while being in tension reveals our true nature. So that's why it's very, very important not to be agitated and all. We should be always, prayerful mood. That's why that is possible when we develop this attitude, as it is mentioned in 2.56. Sukyasu anudvikimana dukyasu vigatas pruva itaraga vaikroda sthittir munirichyate. So we should have this attitude of, sometimes, we don't get our desire, don't get fit to become agitated. But here somewhere it is mercy. So He is called Muni, fixed in the mind. Such a fully Krishna conscious person is not at all disturbed by onslaught of the threefold miseries, for he accepts all miseries as the mercy of the Lord, thinking himself only worthy for more trouble due to his past misdeed. This is that his miseries by the grace of the Lord are minimized to the lowest. Even someone agitate us, we should not be agitated. Someone is agitating, it's their problem. It's not our, and we are getting agitated is our problem, and someone is agitating us is their problem. So we should not make their problem as our problem. We should be very, that there should be clear distinction. Sometimes someone is agitating us and we feel angry. Yeah, of course, he is agitating. That's his problem because he has enviousness. He is not satisfied. That's why he might be agitating. But when he try to agitate us, we should not be agitated. See, his lack of Krishna consciousness that he is trying to agitate us. And it is our lack of Krishna consciousness that we are becoming agitated. That we are not able to see that it's his problem. But I would have got more difficulty. But by the mercy of the Lord, our difficulty is reduced. Anyway. So it's I'm not saying that it will immediately happen, but it will when you keep practicing Krishna consciousness, these qualities will automatically be developed. Even I don't have all this quality, so I'm also the sadhaka. So then he says, anpeksha suchir daksha udasina gatavyatha sarvaramba parityagi yo madbhakta same priya. My devotee. Did I finish this? Okay. I think I didn't finish. So who is equipoised in happiness and distress, fear and anxiety is very dear to me. In next verse it says that my devotees who is not dependent on the ordinary course of activity, who is pure, expert, without cares, free from all pains and not striving for some result is very dear to me. It's here, material result. So, my duty is not dependent on ordinary course of activity. So, we are not trying to act like ordinary people. It's pure expert. Srila Prabhupada says, who is expert? Expert means one who does the needful is expert. Without care means not for not caring for others, but okay, for himself he is talking. So anyway, you can read this thing. To talk on every quality takes 1 hour. We can discuss easily. But let's say read this purport. It's very important. Money may be offered to a devotee, but he should not struggle to acquire it. That's what in Nectar of Instruction, Rupa Goswami says. Atyahara prayasasya prajalpa niyam agraha. Atyahara prayasasya. Prayasasya means he should not put vigorous effort just to take material pleasure. Verse number 2. Prayasasya means over endeavoring. We should not do over endeavoring. If it's over endeavoring is hampering for Krishna consciousness, we should give up. No, so it doesn't mean that I am telling you give up everything. You see, how you can gradually adjust the things. So intelligently you should do. That is the ideal, but how intelligently we should do, think about and do. So if automatically by the grace of the Supreme money comes to him, he is not agitated. Naturally, a devotee takes a bath at least twice in a day and dries early in the morning for devotional service. Bath means for cleanliness. Thus he is naturally clean both inwardly and outwardly. A devotee is always expert because he fully knows the essence of all the activities of life and he is convinced of authoritative scripture. A devotee never takes part of particular party, therefore he is carefree. He is never pained because he is free from all designation. He knows that his body is designation. So if there is some bodily pain, he is free. A pure devotee does not endeavor for anything which is against the principle of devotional service. For example, constructing uh, a big building requires great energy. A devotee does not take such a business if it doesn't benefit him by advancing his devotional service. So first priority is devotional service, but if it is hampering, should not first we should focus on sadhana, then other things. He may construct a temple for the Lord, and for that he may take all kind of anxiety, but he does not construct a big house for his personal relations. If we take big building for his own residential place, he is talking. But if it is required for temple, we should endeavor. For example, repeating again, constructing a building requires great energy, and devotee does not take to such a business if it is does not benefit him by advancing his devotional service. He may construct a big temple for Lord, and for that he may take all kind of anxiety, but he does not construct a big house for his personal relation. Personal relation. It is said in Srimad Bhagavatam. What is that? Dharmasva anutishtasya pumshan viswakshena kathasya na utpadyat yadi ratim sram eva hi kevalam dharma swanutishtasya pumshan. What is the dharma of pumsha, living entity? Viswakshena kathasya, to discuss about the glories of Lord Krishna. Viswakshena kathasya. Viswakshena means Lord Krishna. Kathasuya. And if it doesn't develop, na utpadyat yadi ratim. Now utpadyat means it doesn't create the rati for hearing, and means for this glories of to discuss about glories of Krishna. And it is called Sram Eva Hi Kevalam. So in the next verse he says that Yona Kushyati na dveshti na sochati na kankshati subha subha parityagi bhaktim anyaha same priya. So he says that one who neither rejoices nor grieves, we have discussed this many times, who neither laments nor desire. What is that? Verse number 3. Sukhis. He says here, Niyasa nitya sannyasi na yona destina kangsati. Again repeated here. One who neither hates nor desire, fruit of his activity is known to be always renounced. So renounce means detachment from these material things. So you don't feel pain and pleasure. Pain, material pleasure. Huh? You are at transcendental level. So laments no desire. To renounce both auspicious and inauspicious things. Such a devotee is very dear to me. In the next verse he says, Samasatraucha mitrecha तथा मानपमानयो शीतोष्ण सुख दुखेषु सुखेषु समसंग विवर्जिता तुल्य निंदा स्तुतिर मोनिर संतुष्टो येन केनचित अनिकेत स्थिर मतिर भक्तिर मातिर में प्रियो नरह. तो बोलते हैं वन इज इक्वल टू फ्रेंड्स एंड एनिमी. तो मित्र और शत्रु दोनों को इक्वल है. So if you see, so you will develop, and you perform devotional service, you will develop this kind of quality. Who is equipoised in honor and dishonor? We have already discussed all these things in 6th chapter. Heat and cold, happiness and distress, honor and dishonor. It's on egoistic level. If you remember, we had already discussed this in 6th chapter. समय सुखे दुखे समय कृत्वा लाभा लाभो जय. No. What is that 6th chapter verse? Okay, so this one, these 3 verses we had discussed. Anyway, so let's move ahead. Heat and cold is bodily level, happiness and distress, emotional level, fame and infamy, again ego level, is always free from contaminatory association. Always silent, who is always free from contaminating association, always silent and satisfied with anything, who does not care for any residence, who is fixed in knowledge, who is engaged in devotional service. Such a person is very dear to me. So basically, his man mana bhav mad bhakto, his chitta should be only for Krishna. That is the thing. So then he says, ye tu dharma amrutam idam yatha uktah pariupasate shraddha dhana mat parma bhaktaste bhaktaste tiva me priya. तो बोलते those who follow this imperishable path of devotional service and who completely engage themselves with the faith, making me the supreme goal, are very, very dear to me. So basically, it's emphasizing bhakti, bhakti, bhakti. So this ends the Bhaktivedanta purport, the 12th chapter of Srimad Bhagavad Gita and the matter of devotional service. So thank you very much. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.